security as a result of the oil spill in that community. We had some people were attacked. We had it was also done by people believed to be, gang members or cultists, whichever one suits the description. And that story trended for a while, right? And earlier this year, it was Audi East, Audi West. It was MOI LGAs, Kana LGA. All of these LGAs were in the news reporting one insecurity or the other. We've seen some of these LGAs have better security, situation. However, the one that happened over the weekend where the late DPO Agbashim was killed in a gruesome manner has brought about the conversation on insecurity back to the fore. And that's why I have invited a guest. But before I introduce my guest, I want to let you know that about 6 members believed, or should I say 6 suspects, let's leave it at that, suspects have been arrested by the police. The police did a show of force yesterday in Audi East local government area. 100 million naira bounty has been put on the leader of the gang by the River State government. The traditional ruler in that community or in that region was first suspended, and I hear, according to the tweet by the governor of the state, has also now been arrested. These are some of the things that have been put in place as a reaction to, or as reactions to, the happening over the weekend. But do we need to continue in a reactionary manner, or do we want to be proactive? Yes, there is no society where we can totally eradicate insecurity, but can we reduce it to the barest minimum? If yes, what are those measures? What are those things? And that's why I have over the phone Efe Wanogho, who is a security expert, and he will be talking on this issue. You must have heard him during some of our news bulletins being read out, but hey, let's talk for development. Welcome, Efe. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you so very much, Canada.
All right. So let's start with the factors, because if you listened to me not too long ago, I said earlier this year we saw a resemblance of this in other LGAs, in other communities where insecurity was rife. What do you think are the root causes of insecurity in any, not just River State, in any Nigerian situation or any Nigerian community? What are some of those root causes of insecurity? As an expert, can you tell us?
Okay, so several factors could be blamed for insecurity in any society. Chiefly, if you want to situate it within our environment and Nigerian space, the very ready example or ready reason people want to start as a causative factor would be unemployment, general unemployment.
All right.
Then the question would then be, because you have a high unemployment rate, should everybody then take to crime? So this leads to other factors as well in terms of the socioeconomic realities of the state, law and order, criminal justice administration system, issues of consequence management, and issues of local leadership, the cohesive nature or otherwise of the local leadership, issue of the nature of law and order / policing that is implemented in the environment. So do we have a centralized policing system, or do we have a decentralized policing system? Do we have a, following from what you have even said earlier in the introduction part of this program, do we have a reactionary security and policing system, or do we have a proactive system?
All right.
Do we react to crimes when they have happened, or do we strive to prevent crimes from happening? So there are many factors, but chief among these factors is the problem of lack of consequence management within security agencies, within the government and public sector, and then a very faulty and, in a manner of speaking, aberrant criminal justice system, in which you will find that many people who should be prosecuted for crimes and criminality are not being prosecuted. In some cases, people are put in the prison yard, as we now call them correctional centers, and before you know it, they are out of these places. without any explanation. Not because there was a court order for a release, no, but because there are things that have happened that are basically nocturnal. Nobody can even speak about them. So you have a myriad of such occurrences. The reward system is another factor. Crime appears to be paying. People have seen criminals being celebrated. Remember when we had the hush puppies of this world, right? The other guy, KK something, who was in the Forbes cover.
Yeah, I remember that guy.
People.
Yeah.
Invictus Obi, that's what it was described, right? So you had such people, and nobody knew that they were deep into crime until they were busted. And they were being celebrated as models, paragons, role models for the young to copy. But you now find, because we have now materialized success, as I like to say, we now think that success in society is to be defined strictly on material terms. That in itself is an incentive to crime for many people, particularly when you find that it appears to pay, and then the perpetrators are not brought to book. So you have an interwoven arrangement. You have different factors commingling to perpetrate criminality. But the worst of it all is lack of political will, because I believe that everything rises and falls with leadership. If you have the political will, the appropriate accountability would be beamed on the security agencies. They are the chief security officer of the state, who is the governor. And through that measure, you will find that the police commissioner, reporting also to his police hierarchy, and being careful not to arouse the wrath of the governor, would want to step up his responsibility, and then he will make sure that everybody within his area of responsibility steps up in terms of his officers and men.
Okay.
And I tell you, being somebody who has certain experiences in the field as well, any police officer or divisional police officer that is aware that his area commander will break down his neck, and his area commander is aware that the deputy commissioner of operations, or as the case may be, will break down his neck, and knowing that it trickles up down the escalator down to the level of the inspector general of police, who holds everybody to account, you would find that they are very much more careful to ensure that they reduce crime to the bare minimum within their environment. But if you have superiors who see perpetration of crime as a normal occurrence, who don't frown at it, who always want to complain, after all, they are not properly funded, and of course they do have a case, right? They are not properly equipped, I'm sure they do have a case.
Yeah.
They are not properly manned, I'm sure they do have a case. But what can you do with what you have while you are making a case for what you want? So there is a myriad of factors responsible for crime, Canada, and until this thing is addressed from all quarters, because I don't think there's a silver bullet, you understand? But I believe the political will is the single most important factor. Everything is tied up to the political will.
All right. So now let's bring the security forces now into the various communities in River State, where usually we would have issues or stories of insecurity. We've seen the DSS, for instance, talking about having or receiving intelligence that one or two troubles may arise in certain areas. You mentioned proactive and reactionary style of policing, and I want to think we have a reactionary style. Why can't we be proactive? Why can't we have our intelligence agencies gathering the right pieces of intelligence so as to forestall now some of the insecurity situations that we have? Because when you look at some of our issues, when we talk insecurity, there are things that we could have prevented from happening.
So you're correct, Canada. We definitely have to stop being reactionary, and I do think that intelligence is available. Albeit not as adequate as it should be, and I'm sure that the DSS is doing what it should, but we must be alive to the responsibilities of each organization. I'm aware, for instance, that the DSS will not focus on certain category of crime. That may not necessarily be their brief. But of course, they could share intelligence with the sister agencies like the police and the military. And I think they do that. You understand? Now, how these agencies handle such intelligence that has been shared to them is another matter entirely. They themselves even have their own intelligence wing.
True.
You have the state CID, you have the SID, you have the intelligence wing of the police, you have the IG response team, you have the all kinds of teams that you have. who are supposed to be involved, which are supposed to be involved in intelligence gathering. And for the DSS, like you stated, even the military, you have the intelligence wing. But for the DSS and the different agencies you have, if you pay close attention over time, you would find that the personality of the appointing officer, in which case the commander-in-chief, and his disposition towards crime. When you have a commander-in-chief that has zero tolerance towards crime, the tendency that these agencies will be much more alert to responsibilities is higher. But when you have a commander-in-chief or a chief security officer at the level of the state, the governor, who doesn't really think that these are issues, he thinks that they are normal occurrences, and his attention is, let's say, it's about political enemies and political opponents, you will see that there is some kind of laxity, with regard to how this whole thing is done. But the truth, we must also add, giving credit to the agencies. It's only when there is a crime we remember these agencies. There are many potential crimes that they would have, halted, that they would have stopped from happening, would have nipped in the bud, that will not be in the public domain.
Okay.
Particularly with regard to the intelligence agencies like the DSS. It's not everything that they do that is in the public domain.
Okay.
Even in the police, in some instances, they may not make it public. So they would have achieved some results, but it's not there. It's not there, so people do not know about it, and they're not giving enough credit. But once there is a gap, because you won't blame Nigerians. Security and welfare of the citizenry is the primary responsibility of government, right? And if the coercive forces of state are no longer able to give the people security of life and property, then people are free to scream and to shout to high heavens and hold them to account. So we will not blame them entirely. So for me, without holding brief for these agencies, I'm aware that they have humongous areas of improvement, shortages here and there. But what do they do with what they have? The scriptural and religious person will say that they ask the person, what is that thing you have in your hand?
All right.
It's somewhere in the Bible, is it not?
Yeah.
So what do you do with what you have? So you have manpower, not very adequate. How do you retool that manpower to achieve best resources in your state? And before I stop on this point, Canada, if you catch your attention back, River State, the last 16 years, when Governor Meki was in office, it was part of his responsibility and his disposition to see that there was close to nothing with regard to militancy in the state. He practically was reputed to have taken the war to the so-called militants. Is that correct?
Yeah.
He did that. Governor Wike ensured during his time that the claims, those people who said they were the IPOB people and enforcing all kinds of killings and what have you, he ensured that they did not thrive in River State.
Yeah.
That was part of his success.
Yeah.
Is it not?
Yeah.
So to varying degrees, we've had some governors who were not sleeping on duty. You could say maybe they focus only on some areas, not on different areas. You understand? It was not holistic. But they tried, but of course they could do much better than they have done. And I think that because the CP, the commissioners for police, we must become aware of the fact that it's not in the concurrent list for security. Now I'm talking generally.
Yeah.
It's not in the CDR list. It belongs to the exclusive list of governors. So the federal government takes responsibility. They appoint the IGP, who himself, in conjunction with the Police Service Commission, are responsible for deploying the other senior officers that you have across board, particularly the hierarchy, the leadership cadre. So you now find that there's some dilemma at the state level.
Okay. You know what? I would have to pause you now. I'm sorry. I would have to pause you now. We have to go for a commercial break. But when we come back, we'll talk about how we can build a proactive security agency.
If you've been dreaming of acquiring quality education, being enlightened, transforming
Akala Dakuru Basketball on 92.3 Nigeria Info. And yes, we're looking at the insecurity in River State, and we've been talking the factors why these things happen. And then we moved on to whether we've got a proactive or reactionary police system. And I want to ask now my next question, because it was building on that. And my next question for you, welcome back, Mr. Efe Wanogho. How do we get a proactive? Because you've said it's possible. You've said, okay, yes, we have certain challenges in policing in the country, but we can do with the little that we have. So how do we, with the little and the humongous challenges, build a proactive, policing system? Because we've just lost a very fine police officer in a police force that we say is not doing greatly.
Okay, so Salada, I do believe that if you have a governor or a president that has zero tolerance for crime, and it communicates the same message to the Security Council, to the General of Police or the Commissioner of Police, as the case may be, and that people will be held responsible for their areas of responsibility. Being held responsible, I mean, it's not just I will relieve you of duty if you do not function.
All right.
It's also to the effect that I will hold you and charge you for criminal negligence if you're not able to function. And under your watch, things go wrong. But of course, it is said that to whom much is given, much is expected, but you also have to invest that. So the governor or the president to be able to demand that from the Commissioner of Police or the IGP, as the case may be, you must have been able to meet them halfway, to meet reasonably so their demands in terms of operational equipment, in terms of manpower, in terms of adequate training, in terms of right insurance for the police officers, so that they don't pay the supreme sacrifice and then there is nothing to show for it.
All right.
So you must be able to have given them what they require to work. You cannot give lots of tools to work and demand of them what you require. I've stated before, Canada, and it has been stated in similar clients in the manner of speaking, that if you are appointed into office and you are a professional, you have to present two papers. One of them will be your acceptance speech and one will be your resignation. In your acceptance speech, you will be conditioned upon the provision of certain tools to work. Mr. Governor, sir, or Mr. President, or Mr. IGP, sir, I cannot function as a CP if I don't have A, B, C, D, E. Give me A, B, C, D, E, and I'll show you that you have close to zero security in this insecurity situation in this state.
All right.
But we do not do that.
Okay, let's pause now. Let's move forward now. So talking about being proactive, some of these criminal elements in the various communities, especially in River State, they've got sponsors, because one would imagine, how do they get the sophisticated weapons? It's very expensive, Who would sponsoring them? For instance, those in oil bunkery, or we call them illegal refiners. That's what we call oil bunkery. Who sponsors them? Who buys the expensive materials needed for all of these insecurities in our communities? Why can we not trace the financiers? Why can we not trace the sponsors? Now, you see, the government has now arrested a traditional ruler, but could this have been done just before the act? Could we have seen this? Could we have had that intelligence? Could we have been proactive?
Okay, yeah, so this is, of course, this further deepens the conversation with regard to being proactive. So with regard to sponsorship of crime and criminality, it comes back to the law and order officers, the security agencies. Over time, we have drifted away from intelligence-driven policing.
Okay.
Away from that. There was a time in the 90s, in the 80s, the 90s, late 90s, the SI, what is known as the SIB in the police divisions, the police commands, were very strong. You had plainclothes policemen that would blend into the populace, and they get real-time intelligence, pass that on to the CID, the State Criminal Investigation Department, and before you know it, they will swoop. You used to have a very strong intelligence network too, but they were aware of the SSS, as it then was, now known as the DSS, the operatives having enough number that they are enough to penetrate and to infiltrate such agencies, establishments, and nocturnal groups, and be able to smoke them out, provide the critical and accurate intel, so that you smoke them out and neutralize them before crime is perpetrated. But to what extent the police, the DSS, and all the other agencies that act with regard to law and order, to what extent do they have the manpower they require right now to carry out this function? That question, I think, is a huge question mark as far as policing is concerned. With regard to remuneration, to what extent do they have the finance required and the tools, equipment, technical equipment needed to carry out these functions? Now, where do we teach professionalism in all of this? What are the reasons that inform our appointing of Inspector Generals of Police, Commissioners of Police, and Director Generals of the DSS? Is it because they are very professional, or is it because they are from a particular part of the country and they are considered loyal to an individual? You know, we had a similar problem when President Buhari was in office. When he was asked that you are appointing people from one part of the country, he said you have to appoint people he's comfortable with. Were they the most professional in terms of being the best that the service had to offer at that material time? So Canada, for me, what we have going on is because we have drifted. If we go back to professional policing, intelligence sharing is intelligence gathering is one. So for you to even move to identify what is intelligence, what is critical, what information can be converted to intelligence that will enable you to prevent criminality. It's not something that you can pick on the street. There needs to be trained on it. But I can tell you that I think the agencies, the police, and many of the agencies have veered off what they should do, because you have all kinds of policemen on physical security deployment. The emphasis now, I like to say, is AK-47 security. Would you think that the more we have security agents with AK-47s and general purpose machine guns with their armored personnel carriers, in our streets, the more secure we are? But contrarily, that is even an indication of insecurity, because you are supposed to have neutralized the positions, remove those positions that will lead you to flooding your street, with all kinds of security equipment and manpower. And how do you solve this problem? You pride gathering of intelligence very high. And like I told you, I always like to draw this connection to consequence management. Every Nigerian local government, every Nigerian street is situated in a police division, which is also is part of an area command. And you have officers responsible for this area. Now, in area commands or divisions, where you find that in such area of responsibility, you have so much a preponderance of crime happening without a concomitant, visualization of these crimes before they materialize, or at the worst case scenario, stepping in to quell the crime before they cause so much damage. What happens to the officers who are mandated, who are paid with the money from the Commonwealth of Nigeria to ensure that these crimes do not happen? Is there any query to such people? Do they answer anything? Are they punished for it? Do they feel that they have anything to answer? So if they continue to receive their paychecks every month, irrespective of the level of crime in their areas of responsibility, Canada, we will never come out of this mess.
All right. Now, I was going to ask you now, you mentioned lack of proper funding, to gather intelligence and do all the things that they need to do. You also say they lack the numbers, to be able to police almost everywhere. And which brings us now to the next part of the conversation. Should we then employ the traditional institutions to help in garnering of intelligence or information? Should we go back to the vigilantes or the local security outfits? Like in River State, we've got OSPAC, SPAC, we've got different parks. Or maybe we could copy what is happening in some parts of Diob in Port Harcourt, where the police somehow works with the civilian security outfits, or would I say with the vigilantes, to be able to tackle a lot of the insecurity. Because sometimes when we see the police commissioner in River State reel out some of the successes of the police, it is done in conjunction with the vigilante system. But then where the problem is for many Rivers people or Nigerians is that we've seen vigilantes also get to the point where power begins to intoxicate. So which is it for you? The traditional institutions, the communities, the local government chairmen, what can they really do, to help us tackle insecurity, given police do not have the numbers, do not have the funds?
Yeah, so Carlos, I think that you don't change the winning team. So for the areas where the vigilantes have proven to be useful tools to the police, they've assisted and collaborated. Why not? Let's make it work. But of course, they must know their boundaries.
Okay.
I don't believe they should even be allowed to carry certain category of firearms, for instance. Right? I don't know what firearms they have, right? And should they even be into enforcement? Should they even be doing physical enforcement of security? Or should they be an intelligence wing to the police? But of course, you know that where there is a loss of confidence and trust in the police, right? People are no longer giving information because they believe that when people are arrested, more often than not, they release. All those who provide the information will be ratted out, and then the criminals will turn around to hit them. That is itself is a conundrum. But local participation in policing is a key ingredient for effective policing. At the local government level, at the level of homegrown policing solutions like vigilantes, neighborhood associations, security committees, right, who are able to educate the local populace with regard to speak up when you see something, say something when you see something, for instance, right? Yeah. Call proper numbers, anything out of the ordinary, you make sure you report. And when people report and they are sure that there is a response for the report they've made, the tendency is that they will continue to report when they make anything out of the ordinary.
All right.
So I believe that security cannot be successful in any society except it is homegrown, meaning that the participation of the traditional institution, the youth groups, the market women. Canada, when intelligence was the key driving force for security, at the level of the markets in the villages, at the level of the youth groups, you have people who belong to security agencies but were not known because they were embedded. They've been trained on how to quietly be in society
and infiltrate some
exactly,
groups.
But they're providing information that is being utilized by the agencies to prevent crime. Is that still happening? If it is happening, to what extent is it happening? Because clearly, the more you have outward crime like this, like we have, and you have the effrontery of criminals to attack and name a DPO or run wire in the country and in the state, the more you find that the less we have intelligence working. Because intelligence may have been gathered, but there is a failure of the consumers of intelligence to utilize such intelligence, and then it's the problem in itself.
All right.
Because it's one thing to have the intelligence. What about the willpower to respond to that intelligence? Maybe you require X number of men to go and raid a particular place that has been noted as a black spot. That so-called evil forest around the practice. For you to go there, you need a minimum manpower and equipment. You need a period of profiling and tracing of the area so that you can make proper success when you go.
That brings security votes back into we've talked about that on several occasions. Security votes given to governors. Some governors say they don't collect, but that's not the point. It brings back that conversation, and as you did earlier, where you referenced some governors in Rivers State, past governors, and their fight against insecurity. The last administration did invest intensively into the police in Rivers State. It built police stations, it bought them vehicles, it bought them gunboats, it bought them, all of these things. Should we use security votes for security issues only? I mean, what's your take on security votes?
So for me, Canada, I actually think that the concept of security votes is an aberration. But of course, rather than cause the darkness, why not light a candle? So for me, security vote exists, right? So let's put it to the proper use. Like we started at the beginning of the conversation, deploy the security votes to solve security problems, and then hold them to account. Good enough, you have the Security Council and the service chiefs in the state, the brigade commanders, the air officer commanding at the state level, the naval commanders, the police, the DSS, they're all involved, even the NSCDC and the immigration, right? They're all involved in it. By the time you're able to support them, you're able to procure equipment. I'm aware that before this government left, there was an intelligence response center that he built.
Something
like
something.
One of the last projects he commissioned.
Yeah, I think close to his house, something like that.
Exactly. So to what extent are we utilizing this? The governor of the state has the right to ask the CP, you have XYZ in X locations. We provided X number of vehicles last time. We provided monetary support, and it is happening. What is going on? So you must be ready to, in the manner of speaking, put the spotlight and the spotlight on the CP and his men. And then the CP will further break down its officers and men. Now look, the governor is not allowing me to rest. The IGP is not allowing me to rest. And if you misbehave under my watch, I would ensure that you face the consequences of your inaction or your complicity in criminality. So these things are all intertwined. The governors must step up. I believe that Governor Kubara, I think he's celebrating his 100 days in office now.
Yeah.
He would have to really show beyond rhetoric that he will not tolerate insecurity in the state. And if he thinks that the service commander that he has in River State are not giving him what he requires, he should feel free to scream to Abuja so that he gets the required support that he needs. Because he cannot continue. The governor by himself will not carry guns to secure River State, but he has responsibility to secure people in River State. And so, he should band with other governors to ensure that state policing sees the light of day. This is something that we've always spoken about.
Should we have a regional, talking about the South now, or even the state, should we have an outfit that is sponsored, like Amotekun, for instance, by the state, saying, okay, this is how we're going to, send you to Ogoni region, for instance, or the Kalabari region, or the Awuda region? Should we have either regional or state-owned security? I know there is neighborhood watch, but we've not seen much out of that. So I'm asking, what do you think about that?
I'm an ardent supporter of decentralized policing and state policing, regional policing, however we coin it. For me, the closer it is to the people, the better. So talk about regional, zonal, south, east, and what have you. Let's do state. At the level of the state, but of course there must be a framework for this to function. So there must be a framework by the national legislation, which will be keyed into by the different legislators at the level of the competent units, meaning the states here, on categorization of crime. So that the fears expressed by other people will be sufficiently addressed with regard to impunity at state level. Right. How do you even appoint such people, right? How do you reward them? What is the influence of the executive or the political class over such bodies? Will they be used to witch hunt political opponents or not? And my response to people who are scared of state policing or other forms of decentralized policing is always this: that somebody crossed the road yesterday and he was hit by a vehicle. Does it mean another person should not cross the road? Or the person should cross, but make sure that there are safeguards, like footbridges and other things before it happens? Is it not?
Yeah.
So when things are made, we don't run in a federation. Any country that's as diverse as Nigeria must run a federation the way it ought to be, meaning that policing must be homegrown.
Right.
There must be that local element contributing massively to the nature of policing. I'll give you an instance. You have people who are from River State.
Yeah.
You post them to somewhere in Katsina in the northwest. What happens to them is culture shock. From the beginning, they stick out like a sore thumb. They cannot understand the language, the culture, and even the religious inclination of the people. It will take you 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to even blend into the environment.
All right.
Within that period, how do you tackle crime? So, crime is best fought by people who have knowledge of the area. They know the nooks and crannies of the area. They know the black spots. They know the black spots. They know the boundaries of the area. And who best to do that than people who are in the area itself?
All right then.
So,
let's pause you because time is fast spent. I have one more question for you, and I wish you could answer this one very quickly. You've talked regional, but what about the army? You know, when things really get difficult for the police, we tend to invite the army. In Ubima, by the way, I did see a video, I'm yet to verify, where the women in the village or the community were protesting. Should we, have the army in some of our communities in just ensuring, maybe like a barrack or maybe like, a small region of each community, just to make sure that everybody is in a good behavior?
Yeah, so Claudia, for now, yes, it has been happening, and I must say that the army has been cleanly spread, right?
Yeah.
We are not at war in terms of war. You've had the war against terrorism going on for over a decade. You have the war against banditry going on for how long? The war against militancy, the war against oil theft, you understand? So our army has been so thinly spread. If we are faced by any external aggression now, I wonder how able we will be to put up a proper defense of the territorial integrity of Nigeria.
Interesting.
So the army should not be the main resort. There was a reason the mobile police force was created. There is a reason the counter-terrorism unit of the police was created. There is a reason the SSS or the DSS exists. And if you ask me, an agency like the SSS, you will merge it in some parts so that you have a proper interventionist unit. You know, maybe station them at the state or at the regions, but at very short notice you can deploy them. But the task of day-to-day policing cannot be their responsibility. No, they can only partner.
All right. Let's take some calls, please. We've got limited time. How best do you think we can fight insecurity in River State? Policing, how do we improve it? Vigilante system, how do we utilize it? The army, is that an option? Security votes. I mean, these are some of the issues that we've tackled. Some of the solutions given by our guest. What are your thoughts on those? All right, 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. I've got Braid. Oh my, I missed that one. Braid was calling from Buguma, but I missed that call to call back. 0809-0306416 is the WhatsApp number. We're live on Facebook, Nigeria Info PH. We're live on YouTube, Nigeria Info PH, and we're active on X. All right, let's take this message before we go back to the phone lines. Please, what is Nigeria Police going to do with the 10 men that withdrew and left their boss with the criminals to kill gruesomely? These men should be severely punished. Only Samuel from Akpajo. All right, thank you very much. Let's see this one. Good morning, good afternoon. It should be. Good afternoon, Canada. Sukari from Akinima. The brutal killing of DPO Bako is bad to say the least. We are from the old Awuda region, and to say the truth, this late DPO was doing well. The police hog command should begin to take on the area commander, the LJ chairman of Awuda East, West, and all officers from the both LJs. Such ambush cannot be without compromise and sabotage. DPO Bako was already taking down the bad guys and following same route. How could that happen and other officers within were not affected? Let us think and act fast. I've got Kalu, and Kalu is calling from Iwofe. Kalu, greetings to you. Welcome on the show. Quickly, what's on your mind?
Yeah, Mr. Canada, good evening, my brother.
Yeah, welcome. Quickly, please.
Thank you. Let me go straight to the point. We are talking about insecurity, and I believe it's because of the purpose of this DPO, Mother than Ahoda, that brought all this issue.
Of course.
We have been suffering about insecurity in Nigeria and every state all over. My brother, let us just analyze this thing critically. Do you know when you mention about a traditional security outfit? My brother, if we go to that side, I don't think it will be favorable. Based on what I experienced, you can remember when Aya State formed Bakassi. Along the line, Bakassi deviated from what they're supposed to do. Start maltreating innocent souls. Today, where is Bakassi? Let me bring it to you. 2023 general election, February, the area of Ospark. You were not expecting that election. I was a victim. Ospark hit me in room of a here because of what? That election. So bringing all this traditional security to our current situation, it will not go well.
All right, then, Kalu, thank you. I've got to go now. Thank you very much. Emmanuel from Port Harcourt, welcome. What's on your mind? Quickly, please.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, greetings. Quickly.
Yeah. I want to say that until add technology to our policing, these things will not stop. Because you can't tell me that the Minister of Technology, as of last year, we did NIF our sensors and all that in order to locate, know where somebody, because I'm calling now, you can easily detect where I'm calling from another. But these things are not done. We spend so much money on insecurity. But insecurity has gone to like a business as a cash crop from people when people start in because it's giving allocation on yearly basis. Sometimes you see people funding insecurity, and sometimes when you give people who have committed stuff like amnesty and all that, it gives room for other people to come and do the same thing, thinking that nothing will happen. So unto our justice system and to technologize our security system, these things will continue to happen.
All right, Emmanuel, thank you very much for your time. Finally, let's take from Real Gift, from calling from Port Harcourt Township. Real Gift, welcome. Quickly, you have 60 seconds, please.
Thank you very much, Chief K.
All right.
If for the fear of darkness, you feel where you're sleeping, you remain with the stench of that pee of yours. Now, until and unless we look at the issue of community policing and state policing, we'll continue to go around the rigmarole. Because the truth is that if states can afford to equip their own police system, architecture, whatever, to the best of their ability, they can be able to curb some of these insecurity issues within their domain, for goodness sakes. That argument of telling me that the state governors will use the state policing against their opponents, if you can convince me, Chief K, that the federal structure as it is today, the police is not being used against perceived opponents, then I will show you a native doctor who doesn't use calabash in his shrine.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, The Real Gift. All right, Mr. If you want to go, please, another commercial break coming up. After that, we'll get your final words. So just please bear with us for another 3 minutes, thereabouts.
Okay.
All right, then. Do stay tuned. A commercial break. When we come back, we'll round off the conversation.